social media plays a huge role in what you do and how you should be doing it. And using free tools like Facebook Live is a great way to market what you're doing, and it doesn't cost you anything but your time.
Hello and welcome to episode 50 of the Smart Agents Podcast. My name is Michael Walter and I'll be your host. In today's episode, we're talking all about video marketing and specifically live video streaming with Ed Troxell. For the past several years, Ed has been coaching entrepreneurs and real estate professionals to embrace live video streaming through platforms such as Facebook to grow their audience and ultimately generate more leads. In the episode description, I've included links to Ed's websites and specifically his Real Estate Go Live training. Now, before we get into today's featured interview, make sure you follow and subscribe to the show on whatever platform you listen to podcasts. You can find us on all major podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and the list goes on. Also, as you can see if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Click the bell to get notifications whenever each new episode is uploaded. And lastly, if you or somebody else on your team has an awesome story or a tip to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. We're always on the lookout for new stories to share. Now, I know what many people are thinking. I'm just not comfortable with live video, or I'm already posting video content to my pages. So why do I now need to do it live? Well, after hearing what Ed has to say, I'm positive you'll be ready to give it a try and boost your online presence. If you could just kind of tell me a little bit about where you're at in the country and what you do.
Yeah, definitely. So I am located just north of San Francisco, about 50 minutes in beautiful wine country over here in Sonoma County. And I help real estate agents and entrepreneurs use live streaming video specifically to market themselves a little differently online and being able to show them how easy it is to pick up their device and showcase what they're seeing, what they're doing, and really be able to connect with their audience in a whole new way that helps build that know, like, trust factor a whole lot quicker online, as well as keeping that sustainable, right? Because it's all about building up our personal brands, because that's what makes us different. It's us, it's you, and what you bring to the table.
Right. How did you get into video specifically? Where did that kind of come from?
Yeah, well, I've always been a techie. And when I say a techie, I'm a techie that can break it down. A lot of people used to say, I'm the guy that makes tech stupid easy, because I grew up with being fascinated with technology. I always had the latest and greatest, switching out the Nokia phones every time a new Nokia came out. Right. And I love teaching what I learned and being able to help people understand how to use technology. So I really started as I was growing up doing all of that. And then as I got older, I started to play around with photography because I love being able to document what's going on. And then I got into video. And funny enough, I actually, in my first business, it was a print magazine, but I actually did local video tours of restaurants, which I completely forgot about until just a few years ago when I looked back and I saw that I was doing video tours back in my first business.
Right. That's awesome. And like you said, with the devices, as things have progressed, they've gotten, the quality is out of control good. I mean, I come from a news like a videography background. I had the big camera on my back. You don't need that. Your phone is everything you need.
Yeah. And that's really also part of my job, right? Is being able to break down those barriers, because when we hear video or video work or live streaming, we think of this big production and a lot of costs are involved, a lot of people, a lot of time. And it's just thinking about it is too much. We put up that wall. And so part of my job is helping break that wall down and letting people know that you have everything you need right here. It's just a few small tweaks and you'll be set to go.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times, like looking back at courses that I've looked at in the past, with video, they're talking about it's so overwhelming.
Yes.
That if you're not looking in the right places, or specifically with what you're teaching, like if somebody's getting that other stuff, they're checked out so fast.
Yes. And that's the thing. whether you're a real estate agent or a solopreneur, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we show up, we deliver something of value, and we engage. We engage online, we engage in person. And what we need to do is incorporate the technology that we have. All of us live by our phones. These are our best friends. They're always there for us. This is your personal assistant, always taking down your appointments with your clients and being able to take photos of the properties that you're listing and selling. And so what I want you to think about these devices is more of your actual partner. Give it a name. Don't just think of it as a phone, because it's no longer a phone. We've known that for years. And be okay with showing up to a listing with your phone and being able to take photos, take video, go live, because you don't need all of the fancy equipment. You don't need the $200 microphones. You don't need the $1,000 cameras. Like, if you want that, great. But don't let that be the excuse for you not showing up and you not showing up live on video, because you have everything that you need.
Right. And like, talking about it, something you have to do it now. Video is, if you're not doing it, you're toast. Like you've got to get on that train. It's been happening for a long time already, but really now if you're not doing it now, you got just a little bit more time to hop on that.
Oh, 100%. I mean, listen, there's over 70% of homeowners are more likely to list with a realtor who uses video. And yet only about 10%, I think it's really 9%, but we'll say 10% of agents effectively used video to market someone's property, according to recent sellers. So there's a huge opportunity for every single agent listening to this right now to pick up your phone and learn how to use the video option, whether it's within your camera, or because of what I do, I'm going to push you just a little bit more and outside your comfort zone and tell you to go live on Facebook and really get used to being live in front of your audience and being you. I believe it was Tom Ferry was talking about this in a video that I had saw the other day, where most people, say that they're afraid to go on camera because they don't like how they look or how they listen, how they hear themselves, their voice and everything. Listen, I had the same things. Before I started my business, I was not wanting to be in front of the camera. I was always the guy behind. It took a lot of inner work to really put myself in front. And once I did, it changed everything for my business. And it started with live streaming. And so what Tom Ferry was talking about in his video was how so many agents will use those same excuses. And he brought up the point that, guess what? You look and sound the same in person. So it doesn't matter what you look like on camera, because it's the same as if I saw you in person. Right. So just do it. And it's so important for us to get comfortable with that and make that connection that it's the next best thing to being in person when you go live and you're on camera, because it's real and you don't have to be perfect. And anything can happen, which is exciting. It's also scary, but it's real life. And that's the beauty of live streaming and being able to remove all of those Instagram perfect lifestyle photos that we're so seeing so much in our feeds and feeling like we have to keep up and we have to show something like that.
Right. So when did you really kind of discover that live was the way to go?
Boy, probably when I first started my business back in 2015. I started with Periscope, so it's no longer there, but I started with Periscope, and I thought to myself, because again, I'm always keeping up with the tech and trying to be ahead of the curve. And I saw the potential, and I really was like telling myself, Ed, you have to get good at this live streaming, because if you don't, your business won't survive. Like, literally had that hard conversation with myself, which pushed me to create my own live show. And for a while there, I was going live 5 days a week. I made it into a talk show. And since then, I have realized that all of the platforms and where we're going with social and just marketing in general, it's all going to a show format. And we've seen this with podcasts. We see this now with collections, IGTV, Facebook Live, Instagram Live, like all these things. They may be different because they're from these different platforms, and they may look a little different, but the package is still the same. And so what I have done over the years is I've just packaged things together as if you're creating your own TV show. One, to make it fun, but two, to have those constraints, that actual framework to really build out episodes that are going to help you get noticed online and be here for the long run, because that's what we all want to do. Is we want to be known in our communities. We want to be liked by others. We want to be able to be that trusted resource that people come to, especially when they're trying to sell their home or buy a home. And so it's very personal. And so we need to get comfortable with that and being on camera, because so many people are going to research you before they ever contact you. It used to be 95%, but because of the pandemic, I'm going to just say 99%, because now we're all forced to do it. And so with those new habits, we have to continuously be on our feet, right? We have to make sure that we keep up with the technology, which is a challenge. If you're not in that, if you're an agent, I understand this is not your job. This is my job, right? So, but you still have to own a part of that, and you still have to be open to new ways of marketing and understanding that social media plays a huge role in what you do and how you should be doing it. And using free tools like Facebook Live is a great way to market what you're doing, and it doesn't cost you anything but your time.
Right. I think that's a big thing. I think that's one of those things that people would just understand, if you can start to build up that following and things like that, you're saving so much money on the advertising dollars and the marketing dollars that you can allocate that to other things.
Yes, it's so important. And, another thing Tom had mentioned in one of his videos was he would rather get 65 views on a video than trying to go do 65 door knocks, right? You have to think about it as you can literally sit in your car or sit in the office or go to the actual home, pull out your phone, do a couple things and be live and showcase what's going on and be done. And that could really be the place that gets you those leads, those conversations, those buyers, those sellers. Like, there's so much power in going live. And I encourage any agent to, at the very least, test it and explore. I have a friend who's trying to sell a home right now, and she's not in my area, but still in California. And she asked her agents if they were using Facebook Live, and they had said, no, we haven't done that yet. We only have about 1,000 friends, and but we're doing all these other things that's listed here and here and here. And of course, because she knows me, we started talking. And to me, that, I'm just going to say, is a lazy approach. We don't know who's watching. We don't know who's sharing. Sometimes we do, but we really don't know. And I call these our secret followers. They're always watching, and they come out of the woodwork sometimes and let you know, but oftentimes they don't. And when we take this example of, we'll say, Sally and her real estate agents, they decided that the 1,000 people that follow their Facebook business page are not worth a 3-minute, a 2-minute, a 10-minute Facebook Live. So that's a red flag for me right there. Another thing is that we don't understand what happens after the live. So again, it's all teaching moments, right? And it's all benefit of the doubt that they just don't know the power of a live video. Maybe they don't know how to go live, and that's fine. And also they don't know what to do with the live video afterwards. And so what I want listeners to hear, or plant the seed for listeners here, is that it's not just you hitting a go live button on Facebook. That's part of it. And yes, anybody can do that. But what you have to know is there's something that happens before, during, and after that live broadcast.
Yeah.
And so before is you obviously preparing. What are you going to talk about?
Yeah.
During is you actually showcasing whatever it is you're talking about. Let's say it's a home. Maybe it's the neighborhood. Let's branch out a little bit, okay? and then after that live is over, well, guess what? You have one piece of video content that now you can do whatever you want with it.
Right.
It can live on your Facebook page, which, by the way, Facebook still pushes out for you, and you do not have to pay for it. And it lives there. And
Right.
while you're sleeping, it's going to be promoting your listing or whatever you've recorded. And then here's the cool thing. If you and or your team wanted to, you can repurpose that video, which means you take that video file and you put it somewhere else.
Right.
Maybe your website. Because again, it comes down to you showing up as only you can, live on video,
Right.
and being able to connect with your audience and build that know, like, trust factor by sharing what you know and what you're doing.
Yeah. What you talked about there, was saying that if you don't do it, if you don't put it on your Facebook page, you're blowing off that 1,000 people. Those are 1,000 people that are in your sphere of influence. They aren't somebody
Yes.
that's never heard of you before that you're sending out a postcard to.
Yes.
Like these are the people that already kind of know that you're a real estate agent and you're just helping reinforce that.
100%. And you also have to think about this. We're all struggling to figure out what content to create, what to post on social, right? Well, you just took one action. If you go live on your Facebook business page, which has probably been collecting some dust for some of you, that's okay. We're gonna dust that off right now. But you go live on your business page that maybe takes you, let's say, 10 minutes max. Doesn't mean you're live for the whole 10 minutes because you want to prep and whatever. But let's just say it takes you 10 minutes to do this one action. You've now created content for your business page. You are pushing out that content for free because Facebook's going to continue to do that. You can share it over to your personal profile. You can share it into any groups that you're in. You can share it to your stories.
Right.
You can then take that video file, that same one action that you took, and put it over on your Instagram, your LinkedIn. Don't forget about LinkedIn. I know we all have some feelings about LinkedIn, but don't forget it. And YouTube.
Right.
Like if we're really trying to make use of the tools that we have and we really want to dominate in 2021, let alone 2022 and beyond, we have to know that technology is always changing. Mm-hmm. We have to be in front of the camera, ideally live, creating video content. That way we can take that one action and repurpose it to other places. And so when you're really thinking about your business and where it should show up online, understand the data points for each social network, as well as knowing that Facebook is still number one. Again, you've got to go back to the data, but Facebook's still number one, love it or hate it. It's still the place that your business should be showing up on your business page. And it allows that flexibility to create that video easily and repurpose it elsewhere. And think about video, Facebook, and YouTube. Those probably are the three things that you need to be focused in on for your marketing efforts.
Right. Well, and then also, you can take that link from that video and send it out an email blast to get more followers onto your Facebook page.
Yes. And because you brought that up, I love it. Think about this. How many agents are texting their clients?
Right.
All day long. Well, guess what? You can take that link. You don't have to download anything. You can take that link and text it to them.
Right.
And here's another one. See, when you get me going, this is when all the ideas come out. So here's another one. I hope you all are writing this one down. When you are showing a home, think about how many homes your client has probably seen that day. Right. Probably a good handful or so. By the time they get home, just like you after a full day conference, they're going to be tired. Yep. They're going to forget which home they really liked. How cool would it be if you took a couple minutes for each home and did a Facebook Live just of the home in general. And then in your notepad or on your phone, when you had that client, that one client that you know really liked that home, you made a note. Teresa loved the kitchen at 2545 Apple Street. So then when you get home and you want to follow up with your client, you follow up with Teresa, you send her a link to that. Hey, just a reminder, this is the house that you really liked the kitchen in.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine? Teresa just sat down. She gets this text from you, her real estate agent, who not only followed up with her, not only shared the home on video, but also pointed out that she liked the kitchen.
Right.
That tells Teresa that you paid attention to her. Therefore, you're standing out more than the other agents that maybe she talked to, or whoever she saw that day.
Right. Definitely. And then, going back to what Tom Ferry said, I would take 65 video views. That's 65 showings that you didn't have to do.
Yes.
It
makes it so much easier when once you know, because again, I know there's that knowledge barrier and it's hard because you're trying to keep up with everything. And especially when the market's so hot right now, you have a lot of work that's coming at you and there's only so many hours in the day. But at least know that there is an option for you that you should jump on to really take this moment to learn how to use your phone to go live and to start. You don't have to be perfect. That's the beauty of live. It's not supposed to be perfect. And you just have to show up and you have to just go live so that you can start creating and really documenting what's going on. And then you can figure out what to do with all that stuff later.
Right.
It's just you getting started and getting out there.
Right. So when you're working with people, what are some of the tips that you give them to kind of, get really, I don't want to say get started because it really is. I mean, it's so simple. Just hold the phone up and talk to it, but to get them comfortable, I guess.
Yeah. Great question. So yes, it's very simple for anyone, whether you're tech savvy or not, to go live on Facebook. You can go on live any other platform, but we're going to stick with Facebook because again, we have to think bigger. And when we think bigger, when we're looking at the social platforms, Facebook's still number one. It still has a place for your business to show up. And it also still has the most daily active users checking in several times a day. So if you're not using your Facebook business page, you can use your profile for things, but when it comes to business, you got to put it on that business page so that you don't get locked out by Facebook. But once you start showing up there, yes, it's easy for you to click a button and go live. The challenge, and this is part of why I have a job, right, is that there is a mindset that you have to get into. And so, yes, anybody can hit that go live button, but our fears of public speaking come up. Our fears of being imperfect come up. And we really have a lot of things going on up here. So working on your mindset is key, and really ideally with someone else so that you can get out of your head. But if you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, I just want to start somewhere, then one exercise I would encourage you to do is to just record. Don't go live, just record using the camera app on your phone. I have an iPhone. Turn that camera app on, hit record, and record yourself. Yeah. It's going to be super, super awkward, and that's okay. You pretend like I'm there with you and just say, this guy, Ed, I heard him on this awesome podcast. I just wanted to record myself because he told me to. This is dumb. I'm ending. Done. It can be simple as that. Then do that a couple more times. Maybe not the same day, but just every so often. If you feel so inclined, rewatch it. I always tell people to rewatch their videos. One, because we're our worst critics, and we think it's really bad when it's really not. But two, it also helps you think about parts that you can improve on. It's really a way for you to give yourself feedback. So really watch your replays. because it's very, very important. I did that especially in the beginning to really get more comfortable with stepping in front of the camera because it is challenging.
Yeah. So one of the great things about going live is to be able to have that instant engagement. People can ask questions and you can see it pop up. What do you suggest people do to kind of drive up that engagement? Say I know I'm going to go live and do a showing at 3, like a live showing. Should I make a post earlier in the day saying, hey, we're going to be going live, to kind of get people thinking about it?
Yeah, great question. A couple things to break down in there is, yes, if you are going to plan on going live, share that out with people. You can create a Facebook event. It's free so that you can push that out. And actually, Facebook events, here's another big tip for you. Facebook events are a great tool that don't get enough love. And Facebook, again, will organically push that out to your audience and everyone else's audiences.
Right.
So when I say I'm interested or I'm going to your open house, your online virtual open house, it then tells other people in my network, in my feed, hey, Ed's interested in going to this showing. You might be. So again, it's free marketing. And so that's something that you can do to promote that. You can also send out a newsletter, an email list, to your email list, I should say, letting people know, hey, be sure to join us. Again, it's connecting the dots. We have all of these digital pieces all over the place. Yeah. And it's all about working smarter, not harder. And so we have to take a step back at times to see, okay, we have this here, so Facebook Live at 3 p.m. on Saturday. But we also have our email list, which everyone is on. So why don't we send an email to them on Friday, maybe even Thursday, depending on how you want to do that, or Saturday morning, and have a link to your Facebook page and ask them to join you.
Right.
Or ask them if they have any questions that they want answered live. Because here's the thing. The other part of this I wanted to unpack is that people get nervous, not only going live, but being live and then having people show up and ask questions. And then we get focused on, well, how many people are going to show up? I need 1 million people to be here. I need all of these things to happen. And then we never show up. And so another tip is don't expect anyone to show up.
Right.
Have no expectations going into this. You are literally showing up, delivering some information, and if others come, you can engage with them either during the live or after, whatever feels comfortable for you, but just do the work, because you can't get to the engagement part if you don't show up and deliver something.
Right. I really like that idea of asking for questions beforehand, because say you are showing a house and you could have a question about, what's the bathroom layout like? Yes. You could walk right into the bathroom and say, hey, Ed, this is the question that you had. I want to show you to you. And regardless if they're on there or not, it shows the people that are on there that you are really engaging with people. It is, you are answering their questions and you're taking care of them.
Yes. And it builds up that community and it builds up your personal brand. And again, we're doing this for now and future. And whether you're a real estate agent in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you'll at least have a solid following online that you can tap into. And I know when it comes to, marketing, a lot of people rely on their referrals, and referrals are amazing and it's great. But you also have to think about what happens when that well dries up. And what are you going to fall back onto? You don't want to start at zero when you're in the middle of it. Right. You want to start building up your video library now, start getting out there more, because here's the other thing. It helps your referrals refer you. Because now they can send a video to someone saying, hey, here's Lisa showing this house. She's the one that I highly recommend that you connect with for yours. That's the beauty of it. And when you're live, again, it's simplicity. You're only taking one action to create all of this. You don't have to have a ton of equipment or fancy things that are expensive. Plus, you also get to be real, and your audience gets to see that, because we really don't want to see all the polished things. I mean, obviously the home photos are super, staged and the lighting and everything perfect. Yes, those are wow. But we also want to see who you really are. And we want to see who you are like now, not 20 or 30 years ago. We have to keep up with the technology. It's always changing. Real estate's always changing. So the way that we can do that is by staying in front of the camera.
Right. So before we wrap up, how can people find you? Where can people find to get involved with your course and kind of learn from you?
Yeah, definitely. So everything's on my website, edtroxell.com. And I also have a chat on there so people can always ask me questions as well. Of course, I'm on social. The handles are on there as well. And then I also have a specific program for real estate agents at realestateagentsgolive.com. And that's a coaching program where I help agents use live streaming to help them show up more here online, and walking them through all those steps before, during, and after so that they can create their own show and feel comfortable with being in front of the camera and showing up live for their audience and not taking a whole lot of time to do it.
Right. Before I did want to ask you real quick before you were talking about, the after and how important that is. It's, I think everybody gets so wrapped up in the before and the during, but that after is so important. It lives on, and you can do all these things. So I think that is really, that can't be forgotten. It can't just be one of those end and forget it.
Yes. And actually, the after part is actually really my favorite part. I actually refer to it as the live effect. And what that means is that once you hit that end live button, you're done. So you can go do whatever you want. But your video is just now starting in terms of populating it for other people, showing up in their feeds, and being you when you're not there. And what's amazing about it, and why I love live video so much, is that it opens the doors to so many possibilities. You might be focused on getting the home listed. You might be focused on getting that commission sale. But that's just part of it. The bigger part is the connections that you're going to make, the speaking gigs that you're going to get, the community that you're building both online and in person. That's the beauty of all of this. The money's always going to come. It's what you do in the meantime that makes a huge difference and makes a greater impact. And that's why I love live streaming video, because it's that after part, that live effect that continues to touch people and move them. And I've even had people 2 years later reach out to me who have just seen my video and wanted to connect and start working with me. After 2 years, it was still relevant. So really, really embrace live streaming and know that this is the long game we're playing here. And it's really about showing up, delivering, and engaging live, so that way you can build up your know, like, trust factor online and really grow your business.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today.
Yes, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
I really want to thank Ed for joining us today. And remember, links to all of his sites are in the episode description. So once again, if you think you or somebody else on your team has an awesome story or a tip to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. Well, that wraps things up for this episode, but remember, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Again, I'm Michael Walter, and we'll see you on the next episode.